Hello learner, this is Teacher Nolly from Bayuk National High School. Welcome to another session of Programming 2.
In this video, we will be applying our knowledge of conditional statements or selection structures in Visual Basic for applications in Excel. Recall that programs, may it be simple or complicated, are structured in three different ways. The program could be in sequential structure, which follows a step-by-step procedure, or follows the selection structure, which involves the computer deciding what to do next. Or it could also be in repetition structure, which involves looping of a certain step until a goal is met. But in this video, we will only be focusing on the selection structure. The general format of using a selection structure is as follows. First, there is a condition which will be created by a programmer. Then, instead of running a program right away, the computer would first ask a question. After getting an answer, it will make a decision on what steps to do next. Let's have a real-life example using this format. So first is the condition. Our sample condition is that if my friend is going to the mall, then I am also going. Before taking the next steps, a question will be asked. Is my friend going? If the answer is yes, then the decision is go to the mall. If the answer is no, the decision is don't go to the mall. This simple example shows how selection structure is used in programming. There are two types of selection structure. First is the single alternative selection structure, which can perform one thing depending on the result of the condition. Dual alternative selection structure, which can perform two different things depending on the result of the condition. Our example earlier used the dual alternative selection structure. So let's now try to create a program which follows the selection structure. To get started, get a copy of Excel Activity Sheet 1 from your teacher, or create an Excel file like what is shown below. You may pause the video to do this task. Before we start coding, it is essential to know our goal, or what we will be trying to do. For this video, we will create a VBA code such that the remarks column in our Excel file will be automatically filled out based on the conditions indicated below. The first thing we will need to do is to open the Visual Basic Editor or VBE through the Developer tab. You can also use the shortcut key Alt F11 to open VBE. Then, after opening the VBE, create a new module. Do this by clicking the Insert menu, then selecting Module. After creating a module, enter the following code in the VBE. The purpose of these codes is to indicate the name, start, and end of our subroutine. Before we proceed on the next line of codes, let's go back to our Excel file. Notice that conditions are spelled out through a table. The question is, how are we going to translate those conditions into codes? The answer to this question is the use of conditional statements. In able to create one, we will be using keywords such as if, then, and else. We will also use operators in creating conditions. If you now understand the condition that we are trying to make, go to your VBA and enter the following codes. The purpose of these codes is to set up conditions which Excel will execute later on. You may pause the video while entering them. Let's analyze the code that you have just entered, starting with this line. As you can see, the statement started with the keyword if. This marks the start of a conditional statement. The next keyword, which we used 2 times in this line, is selection.value. These keywords are a way to tell Excel to look or pay attention to the value of the selected cell. We can also see that operators are used in this line of code, specifically relational operators. These relational operators are telling Excel to compare the selected cell's value to 75 and 100. Next, we also have another operator, which is the logical AND. This helps connect 2 specific events, which are the comparison of the selected cell's value to 75 and 100. Lastly, we also use the then keyword. The purpose of this code is to introduce the decision or the event that Excel will be doing just in case the conditions that we have just created are met. In summary, this line of code is saying, "Hey Excel, if the value of the selected cell is greater than or equal to 75 and less than or equal to 100, then after creating the condition, we will create a decision that Excel will be doing in case our condition is met." On the next line of code, we see that selection.offset is used. Remember that in quarter 1, we use this to indicate movement. In this case, we use it to tell Excel where the target cell is, on which a certain event will happen. And since the remarks column is on the right of the student's grades, an event should occur 1 column to the right. That's why we are using 0, 1. Now, the next codes tell what will happen on the remarks column. That is, the text promoted will be displayed if the student meets the condition on our earlier code. In summary, these 2 line of codes are saying, "Hey Excel, if the value of the selected cell is greater than or equal to 75 and less than or equal to 100, then display the value or text promoted on the right side of the selected cell." Our first 2 lines of code is actually incomplete. It tells Excel what to do when the grade is 75 to 100, but it doesn't tell Excel what to do when the student grade is less than 75. This is where our last set of code comes in. To introduce a new decision to Excel, we will be using the keyword else. Then, it will be followed by the event that will happen. As we can see, the next code is similar to the previous code, but what is changed is the text that will be displayed, which is now retained. This event will happen only if the grade is less than 75. Having a value of lower than 75 doesn't fit on the condition that we have made on the very first lines. Lastly, we have the end-if keyword, which marks the end of our conditional statement. In summary, the whole code can be translated into telling Excel, "Hey Excel, if the value of the selected cell is greater than or equal to 75 and less than or equal to 100, then display the value or text promoted on the right side of the selected cell. But if the selected cell doesn't meet the condition, display the value retained." After finalizing the code, we are now ready for testing to see if these codes really achieve our goal. Go back to Excel to create a button. To do this, click Insert and then select a form control. After selecting a form control, draw the button on the Excel sheet. After creating a button, assign the macro that we have just created, which is promoted retained. You can rename the button, but this is optional. After that, select Louis' grade from our table. Then click the button to run our macro. As we can see, the text promoted is displayed on the remarks column like we have planned to do. The text retained is also working with grades lower than 75. In this video, you have been introduced on how to use conditions in Excel VBA.
And that ends our lesson for today. See you on our next video. Keep safe.